If you have seen my day one video, you know how messy it was with the SIM card, transport and all of it. So by the time I reached my hostel aerodrome at 7 pm, money exchange outside was no longer an option. Money exchange counters in Almaty closes by 8 pm and open only after 9 in the morning. My hostel was almost 10 km away from the city center. Definitely not ideal if you need to run around for things. I was staying there just for a night, so it wasn't a big deal, but I shouldn't have relied completely on that promised tourist information kit. So if you're staying longer in Almaty, pick a hostel or a room closer to the city center, ideally within the walking distance. It'll save you time and Yandex money. Today I'm heading to Saty, a quiet picture-perfect mountain village that will be my base for exploring Kolsai Lake, Kaindy Lake and Charyn Canyon over the next few days. Most travel vloggers recommended getting to Zhybek bus station early in the morning to catch the first marshrutka, basically a shared minibus or a van that runs fixed routes to Saty and other places too. And yes, that's usually the best option, but because of yesterday's mess up, that wasn't possible for me. I still needed to exchange more currency. Most exchange counters in Almaty closes by 8 pm and only open again at 9 am. So since I was heading deep into Saty, I couldn't just rely only on 50,000 tenge I had exchanged at the airport. So I had to wait until morning to get enough cash for the next few days. By then, I checked out from my hostel around 7:30 am and booked a Yandex to Zhybek Zholy Street, one of the best spots in Almaty for currency exchange, with plenty of counters lined up in that area. Since I still had some time before they opened, I stopped at a nearby cafe called Arizona Coffee to wait. The ambience was cozy and I paid about 1000 tenge for a medium black coffee and of course to use the washroom. And here's something every traveler should know. In Kazakhstan, most toilets, whether in public places, cafes or even guest house, do not have a hand spray or even a water bidet. Locals usually just use a tissue or paper. So if you're not used to that, I strongly recommend carrying a portable travel bidet or some personal hygiene wipes with you. It'll make your trip much more comfortable, trust me. This topic actually went viral on my TikTok page and a lot of locals had strong opinions about it. Some agreed with me, others insisted paper is the best way to go. The comment section was really wild. So after enjoying my coffee with this great view, I went to a few exchange counters along this Zhybek Zholy road, and MIG was offering the best rate at that moment, which gave me about 542 tenge per dollar, a pretty good deal. By 9:30 am, my cash run was done. Marshrutka wasn't an option anymore, so I asked a couple of locals and they suggested an app called inDrive. Here, you can enter your route, set the price you're willing to pay, and nearby drivers can either accept or counter your offer. You can then choose a driver based on their price, rating, and the car. And most of the time, you'll pay the driver directly using in cash. And here's my tip. If you're planning a long ride like Almaty to Saty, don't wait until the last minute. Post your bid 1 or even 2 days in advance. This gives you time to chat with the drivers, confirm your ride, and plan alternatives if nobody accepts your offer. In my case, I got lucky. I found a driver quickly and we agreed on 35,000 tenge for the whole ride, just me and the driver, no sharing. It felt like a real fair deal, so I took it. Once my inDrive booking was confirmed for 12 o'clock in the noon, I still had some time before my driver arrived. So I walked over to a nearby supermarket called the Central Gastronom something like that, located on Zhybek Khan Avenue. Since this was going to be a long trip to Saty, I wanted to stock up on foods and drinks in advance. And here's something I realized. It's always better to buy from a proper supermarket where the prices are clearly labeled rather than from a small corner shops where tourists are often, like most of the time, overcharged. Even if the difference is small, you leave with the satisfaction that you're paying the right price, especially in a country where language can be a barrier. I spent time exploring the entire supermarket, looking through their hot food sessions and snack aisles. For breakfast, I got some dumplings and pulav, which they heated and served right there. I also grabbed some snacks, bottled water, and other essentials for the journey ahead. The prices were reasonable, and this quick stop gave me peace of mind. I was all set for my much-awaited trip to Saty. By the time I finished my shopping, it was exactly noon, so my driver arrived sharp on time at the exact pickup point I had shared. With everything ready, food, water and bags, I got in, settled down, and we rolled out of Almaty, leaving this city behind and on our way to Saty. Now, let's talk about the weather. Today's weather in Almaty felt exactly like yesterday. Hot. But I noticed something interesting. The sun here is incredibly sharp and strong. So when you're standing directly under it, you feel completely drained, like it's 40 or even 45 degrees. But the moment you step into the shade, you actually feel the real temperature, like around 30 or 31 degrees Celsius in August. It's such a dramatic difference, almost like two different climates within the same street. So if you're planning to walk around Almaty on a hot summer day, use the tree-lined streets to your advantage. Stay under the shade whenever possible. It really feels like a natural shield against the heat. About 2 hours into the drive, we finally stopped at a small pit stop in Saty village. The driver mentioned that this would be our last stop, so no shops ahead once we start driving into the mountain range. I took a moment to stretch my legs and refill my water bottle. Even though I had enough snacks packed from the supermarket, I couldn't resist when I saw my driver heading to Sarvina's cafe for lunch. The smell of this kebabs sizzling over hot coal with the fat melting and dripping was impossible to ignore. So I went inside and decided to order lunch for myself as well. Being a food lover myself, I can't resist exploring local flavors, and the best way to find good food is to trust the locals. If the place is busy with them, that's usually where the real gems are. So I ordered the beef lagman, 2 lamb kebab skewers and some manti. It took about half an hour for my food to arrive, but honestly, it was worth every single minute. They were making everything fresh. First came the lagman, a beautiful stir-fry dish with hand-pulled noodles, tender chunks of beef and colorful bell peppers. The flavors were rich but perfectly balanced. Nothing was too overpowering, so even a picky eater would enjoy this dish. Then came the manti and kebab skewers, sizzling hot and smelling incredible. Each skewer had pieces of juicy lamb stacked with chunks of melting fat in between. So soft, so tender and absolutely perfect. I enjoyed every single bite right down to the last piece of my plate. At around 3 p.m., with a full stomach and a happy heart, we got back on the road. And almost immediately the scenery changed. You'll begin to see the mountain ranges we'll be driving through, mixed with some flat open plains and wide beautiful landscapes. As we got closer to the mountains, I started noticing more signboards, some in Russian and many also in English. So it's really helpful for self-drivers as you can follow the directions even if you don't speak the language. I see Kagan here about 95 kilometers. It's a good sign, meaning we are still on the right track. Honestly, I'm clueless most of the time out here because of the network. It keeps going off most of the time. So it's pretty much a trust the road kind of a drive until we reach Saty. The roads so far have been surprisingly decent, smooth enough that even a sedan can make it here without any trouble. You'll hit a few patches under maintenance, but really nothing crazy. So if you're renting or driving yourself, check your car's tire and fuel before leaving Almaty. Download the offline map, which is really important, and try to drive in the daylight. There aren't many lights once you leave the main towns. That's my driver. He looks super serious here, right? But trust me, he is a very calm and a very kind man. He's just focused on the road and he drove safely the whole way, and he also made sure I was comfortable. So, drivers here are used to these roads, and as long as you pick a reliable taxi app or pre arrange your drivers, you'll be completely fine. And since we are talking about being fine and feeling safe, I felt that way pretty much everywhere in Almaty and even on this route to Saty. As a female traveler, I never had a moment where I felt unsafe. The only real challenge here is the language barrier. Not everyone speaks English, but with a bit of patience, Google Translator, and some basic common sense, you'll be fine whether you're traveling solo or as a couple or even with family. Now, this is my personal opinion. If you can skip the shared marshrutkas, go private. The route to Saty is unbelievably beautiful, and unless you experience it, you wouldn't know. And so with your own car or even a private driver, you get to stop whenever you feel like it or wherever you feel like it. Take photos, stretch your legs, grab snacks, all at your own pace. Roughly half an hour after the last village stop, we were already approaching the next mountain range, and right there was a sign for Charyn Canyon, just 10 kilometers to the left. Charyn Canyon is roughly 200 to 220 kilometers from Almaty. So even on a good day with decent roads and no long stops, you can get there in about 2.5 to 3 hours. But that also really depends on the traffic, road conditions, and how long you're gonna stop along the way. Inside the canyon, plan for at least 3 to 4 hours minimum just to explore, and it will be even more if in case there's like too much crowd or if you like taking time. I'll be sharing a detailed video of my visit soon, and in case you're planning for a Charyn Canyon's visit, it's best to include it either on your way up to Saty or on your way down back to Almaty. Don't make it to a round trip from Saty in a single day because it just gets exhausting and you'll spend most of the day just driving instead of enjoying the canyon. Do you see this? The Kazakhstan 2050 carved into the mountain? You're still on the right track. This is actually a part of Kazakhstan 2050 vision, and you'll spot this kind of signs in different places across the country. Right after passing this Kazakhstan 2050 vision mountain base, the road opens up again, back to those wide open stretches with nothing but steppe all around. This is the final straight stretch towards Kaindy, and in less than 50 kilometers, we'll be taking a right turn that leads to Saty. By 3:40, we were almost here at this main junction. You can also see the signboard here which says Kolsai, Kaindy and Black Canyon all to the right side. So if you took a shared van from Almaty to Kaindy, this is the exact spot where you need to get off, right at this junction. The van usually keeps going straight up the road, so if you miss this stop, then you'll have to come back all the way from there to here on your own. You'll also see some parked cars waiting here. You can bargain with them for a ride to Saty, but just know that they usually charge quite high. Just after that right turn, there was this sudden calmness around. Clouds started gathering almost like it was about to rain, and everything got a bit darker for the moment. The weather felt like it was shifting, and overall, it felt super magical for me. Not long after that, the weather completely shifted. The wind turned cold and it even started drizzling in few places. The car windows kept getting dirty from the rain and mud splashes, which is pretty common on these roads after a shower. About 15 minutes after taking that right turn at this Kaindy junction, the road started getting bumpy like this. We were suddenly on a muddy track. They're working on improving the main road, so we were diverted here. And this is what I was exactly talking about earlier. Sometimes the road conditions can get worse because of this kind of diversion. So be prepared if you're taking a rent-a-car or you're driving yourself. It was around 4:12 and roughly half an hour after this junction when I started noticing cattle grazing in the fields. So seeing livestock here usually means that you're getting closer to a village or some settlement. There wasn't any signboard for this turn, but the driver suddenly took a right onto an off-road track. And my driver is a local, so of course he might know all the shortcuts and back roads. But if you're driving on your own, I wouldn't recommend trying these routes unless your offline maps clearly show them. So it's always safer to stick to this main marked roads. Barely 5 minutes later, we were at the entrance of this particular village, Zhybek. Right after that settlement, we saw a herd of horses crossing the road. Now this is the clear view compared to the muddy window view earlier. We just had one small hairpin curve, and after 10 minutes later, we reached this village called Kaindy. Some travelers actually stay here instead of Saty. It's much quieter with fewer tourists and perfect if you just want a peaceful village stay without any activities. And finally, at 4:40 p.m., we reached Saty. So that's a total of about 3 hours and 40 minutes of driving time, excluding this 1 hour lunch stop. So this was with a local driver who knew the route very well. So if in case you're planning your own drive, make sure to factor in the road conditions, weather, the brakes and everything when estimating your travel time. This whole trip is a budget do-it-yourself plan. So in my next video, I'll show you how I booked my guest house for a cheaper price, what my stay was really like, and how to reach all the must-visit spots from here. So see you in day 3.